Man, oh man, do I have to make up an intro for this because I think it's a show now. Hello there, everybody. This is CwapTheNintendin here, and welcome to another edition of Platinum Impressions, the show that I do to talk about games. Yeah. And if any of you have been following my tweets about this on Twitter, I am definitely doing an impressions video on this. So, without any further ado, Sonic Lost World for 3DS. The 3DS Sonic Lost World. This is the next mainstream title in the Sonic franchise, and it's exclusive to Nintendo as part of a contract that Sega did with Nintendo to create 3 Sonic games exclusive for Nintendo games. Let's hope that the third one is the platform. Anyway, the Wii U and not PS3, 3DS versions of Sonic Lost World are completely different in terms of gameplay stuff, but as for the overall story itself, it's pretty much essentially the same, except, from what I've seen, the 3DS version has less cutscenes than the Wii U version, because the Wii U version has a little bit more cutscene-ish type things, I guess, but yeah, but the overall story is basically the same. So, Sonic and Tails are chasing Eggman on the little plane thing, catching the all-familiar Animal Capture, the roboticizer, and stuff. And Eggman drops the thing because he's a fool. Sonic tries to reach it but fails. And where does it land? On this strange world called the Lost Hex, which is, of course, never explained. Yeah, seriously, the Lost Hex is never explained. It's just there. It's like Little Big Planet. No, not Little Big Planet. I always call Little Planet Little Big Planet. I gotta stop that. It's like Little Planet from Sonic CD and Sonic 4 Episode 2. It's just there. I don't know. But for whatever reason, it's there, and Sonic and Tails go there and save animals. All the while, Eggman has taken control of 6 creatures called Zeddy, which call themselves the Deadly Six. And, well, that's never explained. How did he manage to control it? Well, through this magic conch thing, which he calls a conch, for whatever reason. It's called conch, you fools. Well, by the time we get to the boss of the second world, the second Zeddy, a Zom, which is the fat one. Sonic knocks the conch, or conch, I'm gonna call it the conch, out of Eggman's hand, which causes the Deadly Six to betray Eggman. And so, without that further ado, Sonic and Tails are forced to team up with Eggman so that they can do something. And that's pretty much the whole plot as it is, actually. I understand there's a little bit more to it, but no, there is a bit more to it. But since this game is still relatively new-ish, I'm not gonna spoil the entire thing for you, so yeah. But from what I can gather, the story is pretty much really simple. I mean, I think it's personally fine the way it is. I just wish there was a little bit... No. Actually, the story is fine as itself. The entirety of the plot is just fine as it is. But the writing in this game can get from, pretty average to absolutely excellent, by the way. It's pretty much just like Sonic Colors, actually. In fact, the writers from Colors are back, so that is really, really awesome. And I love the writing in Colors. I think it was spectacular. This game can, like I said, the writing in this game is pretty okay to excellent. The excellent part being, well, the funny bits. And what are the funny bits coming from? Eggman, of course. Eggman is quickly growing to be my favorite character, actually, simply because of these lines. It's so great. 2 lines in particular I really laughed at. Like, while you're in Tropical Coast, which is the third zone, Eggman proposes to Sonic and Tails that they have to team up in order to stop the Deadly Six, but obviously Sonic and Tails don't do that. And while Eggman walks away, Sonic is just all like, well, that's a big bummer. For those, raise your hand, if it pleases the court, all those who think Eggman's a total bonehead, raise your hand. And then they both raise their hands, and Tails is like, well, the motion has been carried unanimously. And then Eggman's all like, I didn't raise my hand. I freaking died at that line. I love that line so much. And there was actually another thing. After Frozen Factory is done, Tails gets an idea to make Cubot more menacing, and he attaches Cubot's head onto a shellcracker enemy, which causes him to go all evil and stuff. And it tries to go for Tails, but Eggman saves him. And then after all that, Sonic is like, I don't get you, Eggman. One minute you're contemplating genocide, and the next you're saving one of your worst enemies. And then Eggman is like, I'm a complicated guy. Is that so true or what? Well, considering he has teamed up in the past, like Adventure 1, 2, Hero, Shadow, 06, that is pretty much the understatement of the century. I'm a complicated guy. Eggman is pretty much the saving grace of this game. He's the best part of the game by far. But what's actually really interesting about the writing is, it shows sides of, well, Sonic and Tails that we never actually seen before. Like, one cutscene after the team-up, it's pretty much after Tropical Coast. We see Sonic, Tails, and Eggman working on, like, robots or whatever. And without giving too much away, what was it? Dang it, I lost my train of thought right there. Great. Wonderful. Oh yeah, Sonic is well, without giving too much away, Sonic goes all like, I'm trusting Eggman to do this, to do something, and Tails gets all angry at Sonic, is like, oh, you don't trust me, and then Sonic's like, no, I don't, it's just that I screwed up, and the Deadly Six are gonna conquer everything, so I'm relying on someone a little bit better to stop them, and yeah. And yeah, it does show sides of characters that we've never seen before, and all sorts of other stuff. So, that is actually pretty interesting. But, from what I hear, from what I heard, or researched, the writers knew nothing about Sonic's, about, like, the characters of Sonic at all, so they just wrote them however they wanted it to be. But even then, they still managed to capture the general upbeatness of you know, the Sonic characters. They still got their personalities down, Eggman especially, so yeah, the writing in this game is really good. So, huzzah. What are Amy and Knuckles doing here, by the way? They serve little to no purpose other than cutscene. But whatever the case. But anyway, now we get on to the gameplay. I already mentioned in the demo impressions of Sonic Lost World, how the 3DS's stages are a bit linear-ish to me. That is, well, you know, the type where you're just going from point A to point B, just going straight or whatever. Not any of those 2D levels. I still agree. I still stand by that point. They should have been a lot more exploratory, you know. But regardless of that, I still think these zones are pretty ish designed. Well, everyone says I should probably bring this up right now. Everyone from what I've read, every fan just says, "Oh, the 3DS version is so inferior. It's the worst handheld Sonic." Well, they obviously hadn't played Sonic Genesis, and B, well, I'll just save it for the end, though, but it's really just about the levels that get people really pissed off about them, or something like that. So, in truth, I do think the first two zones are fine, Desert Ruins and Windy Hill. They're just fine. But, apparently it's when we get to Tropical Coast that things start to get a little bit more ish to fans. So, you have this one level where you're going around underwater and stuff, and you're pretty much underwater the entire time in Tropical Coast. Well, I think it's Tropical Coast Act 1, is it? Where they introduce the Yellow Wisp, the Drow-Wisp, sorry about that, that was a burp. That was another burp, I gotta think of scripts for this, actually. So, they introduced the Drow-Wisp from Colors, Yes, that's right, the Wisp return. And you basically have to go... in order to not drown, you have to use drill in order to stay alive in these certain sections where you have spike balls and stuff. But, you know, so long as I'm having fun, I did have fun in that level, it didn't really matter to me in the slightest, though. But then you have this other level, Tropical Coast 2. I think it's Tropical Coast 2, I'm not too particular. Yeah, I think it is, actually. Where you have to push these things into holes. The apples into holes. And it's just basically like, you know, you push the apples into that, then you have this section where you put the apples into the juicer, then you have to beat all the enemies and repeat the process. That one I thought was okay. That level was okay. I mean, of course I didn't really like the enemies in that one, particularly this one enemy where they have spike balls around it and I can't homing attack it because the spikes hurt. I don't like that enemy at all. But regardless of that, I think the level itself was just okay. Tropical Coast 3, though, that's where you're fully 3D and you have to be underwater the entire time and you have to use the drill wisp the entire time, otherwise you will die. Particularly in these sections where you're in the underwater cyclone and you have to use drill all the time, otherwise you will die. Yeah. There's plenty of that in this game, I will agree. But I don't really think it gets too bad, and those kinds of situations don't get too bad until Skyroad 3. I'll talk about that later, but for now, Frozen Factory. Okay, so while I did think Frozen Factory 1 was pretty competent at what it was trying to do, I just don't like the ice physics in that level. I don't. Especially this part where you're going in a tubular section with ice physics and these gears that can crush you. No, yeah, it doesn't count as, well, you know, you got hit, you lose your rings. No, they count as crushers. If you touch them with the things, you die. Yeah, I didn't like that about that level at all. Frozen Factory 2, for the most part, was okay, but let me tell you, I had one of the most difficult times in that, simply because, well, I died a lot of times, right? So this game's quote-unquote super guide mode activated. Well, it's really RC vehicles that can help you out through certain sections of the level. Like, you have one RC vehicle that can destroy enemies for you, one that makes you invisible, one that can make you jump higher and make you low gravity and stuff. Yeah. Unfortunately, though, I got the RC vehicle. Well, this is pretty much near the end of the level. I got the RC vehicle that destroys badniks for you. And let me tell you, I needed to homing attack those, but the RC vehicle just kept getting in the way. So, you know what? I ran under that thing, and even then, I still died a lot. Ice physics in Sonic don't work well in 3D Sonic, because the way Sonic controls is like, in those 2D sections, like, his acceleration is way too fast. I mean, it's a little bit too fast for me, but when you're in those 3D sections, it's not that bad, but it's really apparent here when it comes to, well, controlling Sonic on the ice physics here. So, while I don't think the end of the Frozen Factory Act 2 was really good, I still had a pretty okay time in Frozen Factory Act 3, well, despite all the death. And then we come up to the most infamous level of the game, Frozen Factory 3. I've heard horror stories that people spent over 15 minutes in this level. And I kept on hearing, like, oh, you gotta put snowballs in this thing, and then there's this creature that can not only freeze on contact, but you don't have any recovery time after that, so it can repeatedly freeze and refreeze you again and again. But it can also destroy your snowballs, so you have to roll up your snowball again and hope to God it doesn't do that. And the snowball creature grows too. So once it reaches its max power, it just annoys you to hell and back. And yeah, I agree with them. I agree. I knew upon entering that I wasn't going to have a very good time in this level from hearing all those stories. I do agree 100%. Okay, so, well, the first section of Frozen Factory 3 isn't really that bad to me, But it's just when we get introduced to the snowball creature that it just, I hate that snowball creature. It just sucks. It's so annoying. It is so frightening, and it doesn't wear a shirt. I don't know. But still, it's so annoying. It's probably the most annoying thing I've ever encountered in a video game, period. Yeah, Navi, you have been beat. Yeah, not even your incessant beeping of, hey, you should take a break in the 3DS version, or, hey, you had to go to this place. You are nothing compared to this thing in terms of annoyance. Even though I don't think Navi's that bad, but still, even then, this thing is so annoying. And you wanna know what? There is some parts of the level where you have to use the thing as a platform thing or whatever, by stunning it with this kick attack, and you have to, you know, beat it down. I didn't know that. The game doesn't tell you. It doesn't give you like a hint bubble, like, it doesn't give you a hint thing that, hey, you can stun the thing with this. You pretty much have to figure that out on your own. And figuring things out in the Sonic game? Pfft, frick that noise. But yeah, if you saw the picture on Twitter, I spent about 14.5 minutes in that level. Not counting Team Chaotix's Mystic Mansion, that is pretty much the longest time I've ever spent in a Sonic level, period. I don't like that level. I don't want to replay that ever again. Unless I want to. Well, I'll quickly go over Silent Forest at least. Well, Silent Forest isn't really that bad. First zone, even though it's another, you know, puzzle type thing, it's okay. That level's alright. Silent Forest 2, where you're grinding on rails and stuff, that one's alright. It's just those giant turtle bots without a wisp that you can potentially spend over a minute trying to kill these things. I just want to end. Silent Forest 3 is another, you know, 2D section thing. And near the end, you have to avoid the gaze of this searchlight owl thingy and stuff. And if you get caught by the owl thing, it will cause platforms to go down on you. And I remember dying a lot near the end. That seems to be a thing in Sonic Lost World 3DS. It's like, I die at the very end of the level, and, you know, honestly, I don't really care about S-ranking those things at all. I honestly don't really care at that point. Skyroad, well, the first half of it anyway, I should call Casino Road Zone, because you barely get to see any sky at all. It's just another casino level. And admittedly, I did have somewhat of a good time with Skyroad 1. Skyroad 2, however, I had a blast. Why? Because, well, yeah, it is a do-or-die situation. Yeah, you have to use this new wisp called the Asteroid Wisp, where it's basically like, it's a really cool wisp. You basically activate it, and you can destroy enemies, which cause these little cubes to go around Sonic like that, and the more cubes you get, the higher you can double jump. That is really cool. I particularly like the music of it as well. It's so techno, it's so galactic, it's so awesome. Yeah. If there's one wisp that was introduced I really like, is the Asteroid Wisp. Also the Lightning Wisp, and... oh yeah, the Quake Wisp, which you control by tilting the 3DS. That one, I thought it was okay. The other use of the gyroscope, oh man, you will see later. But yeah, I enjoyed that level because I got to use the Asteroid Wisp. It was so cool. Well, technically it wasn't the first level introduced. That Wisp was introduced. In Desert Ruins 1, I think it was introduced, I think. Yeah, it was. So, yeah, I really love using that Wisp. Skyroad 3, however, it's half and half. The first half I don't like because, well, there's this one section where you have to use the rocket, and you have to homing attack onto the rocket, and if you want to stay on it. And if you get hit, you die. And to make matters worse, there's this little dragon robot thing that shoots fire at you. And I swear, no matter how many times I played, no matter how many times I died and tried to avoid that thing, I just couldn't avoid it. And it got to the point where I had to use the RC vehicle that makes you invisible in order to get past that one. That is really sad when a game forces you to use its quote-unquote super guide feature in order to get past by a certain section. But the second half wasn't really too bad. I had an enjoyable time with the second half. The last one, Lava Mountain, is just basically a boss rush mode where you face the 6 Zeti. And truth be told, I do like the boss fights in that one. I really do. I think the one that I liked the most was with the Red Zeti, Zavik. I really love that boss fight where you're free falling and he has this dragon robot thing, and it shoots out lasers at you. That one I found really awesome. I found that boss fight really cool. What else was there? Oh yeah, I didn't find the Zor battle, you know, the emo Zeti, where he's like, the only joy I get is joylessness. That boss fight was alright. Where you had to use the gyroscope in order to aim this cannon thing at the right owl robot thing. That one I found was not so offensive. I did like a Master Zix battle where he's using fruit to, you know, just try to destroy him, and you had to knock back the fruit at him. That one was pretty good. Yeah, the boss fights are really good. Particularly Zavik's boss fight. That was pretty cool. I will say though, without giving too much away, the final boss can take you a while to figure out because you had to multi-target. You had to do the multi-targeting thing because homing attack does multi-target. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. You multi-target the final boss. But, yeah. Again, in terms of control, I really do appreciate it when it works. It's just that, well, Sonic's acceleration can get a little bit too fast for me, well, considering you have ice physics to deal with in Frozen Factory. And, yeah, I won't get really too much into the controls since I explained it in the demo version impressions. But, yeah. The graphics, I feel, are okay at best. I mean, it does look pretty good, but I will say, though, it doesn't look as good as, what 3DS title do I have? Great. Well, okay, I've seen Kid Icarus Uprising. It looks really good. That game, Sonic Lost World 3DS, looks worse than Kid Icarus Uprising. That's all I gotta say. But, yeah. And the 3D, I guess, kinda sorta helps, but ultimately it doesn't really. So, yeah. I think the graphics are just alright to me. Yeah. But I will say, though, the music, as always, is spectacular. Well, of course it's a Sonic game. What Sonic game doesn't have good music, aside from Sonic Genesis and Sonic Chronicles? But, yeah, the soundtrack is pretty good. Despite my rage at Frozen Factory 3, I did like the music, though. The music was pretty good. The casino song was pretty good. Skyroad 3 especially was really good. But I think the themes that stand out the most are the Zeti boss fights and the final boss itself. I really, really love that. Especially the orchestral version of the Zeti boss thing. Well, Zavik's theme I really, really enjoyed. But other than that, stage songs I liked. Windy Hill, of course. Frozen Factory, as previously stated before, Skyroad 3. Yeah, I gotta listen to the soundtrack more, but I did enjoy the soundtrack from what I've heard, from all that I've heard. So, yeah. And last but not least, let's talk about those 3DS special stages, eh? Well, of course, in order to enter a special stage, you finish the level with 50 rings, and the game will ask you if you want to do a special stage. Now, I will give them credit, they actually did something original. Flying out in space, collecting orbs, that seems pretty cool. Except for one little thing, though. You control Sonic through the gyroscope. Yeah, which means you have to hold the 3DS. Okay, I'm actually going to hold my 3DS as an example, okay? You got to hold the system like this. You have to swivel around all over the place. You got to swivel up and down and all around. You got to do all that while holding the R button to boost. And you pretty much have to do that throughout all the special stage. That is actually really, really annoying. Yeah, truth be told, I despite how precise the control works, just the fact that they use the gyroscope in such a way you can't, like, do an option where you can use the control stick, that is seriously stupid. And it's not to say you will get I'm pretty much the only one who won't get dizzy because, well, yeah, but imagine if you're playing in the car or on a bus or any moving thing. You will look like a goddamn fool. You will. Yeah, just like, oh hey, oh I'm sorry, I'm trying to get a Chaos Emerald. I want Supersonic, man! Yeah, but so far at this point, as of recording this, which is December 30th, I've only gotten 3 Chaos Emeralds. I haven't gotten all of them, but I'm pretty sure the special stages will get far worse. Ah, man. I will agree with everybody that that because of the way that controls and just the, you know, concept of the whole using the gyroscope only thing, that I can agree it is one of these special stages are pretty much the worst in Sonic. I will agree right there. But you're probably thinking, what do I think of this game? Well, everyone says, well, compared to the Wii U version, it is crap. But, yeah, I think it's alright at best. Well, it all really goes down to whether I've had fun in some levels or not. I mean, more often than not, I did have fun playing these levels. Well, I didn't have fun with Frozen Factory Act 3 to be sure, and I sure as hell didn't. Well, I will pretty much go down to say Frozen Factory is, well, the worst zone in the game. Simply because, well, I didn't enjoy half of it. But going back to that, I think the 3DS version of Sonic Lost World is pretty decent at best. I mean, it's nothing too spectacular or anything, but it could have been a lot better, I'll just say that. Again, I really like the soundtrack, I somewhat like the graphics, I do like the control, but I will agree, some of the levels just drag out, and when they drag out, they really drag out. And other such stuff. But yeah, I only think it's pretty decent so far. Well, no, not so far. I just think it's pretty decent. So, whenever I get around to getting the Wii U version, I will definitely do an impressions episode on that. So, here's hoping it's a lot better, and here's wishing it is better. Because, well, from what I've read, everyone really likes the Wii U version. Then again, I wouldn't know. I don't know. We'll just have to see. Anyway, I shall see you guys on the next installment of Platinum Impressions. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.